what happened was my roommate in LA decided he was leaving, and so I couldn't really stay in my apartment unless I found another roommate because it was a 2-bedroom apartment, and so I was hunting for apartments, and I was praying, and I just felt like I needed to pray and ask God for a place to live that would really just testify to God's goodness, and I felt like I needed to not just resign myself to renting some kind of not very nice apartment in LA that I could afford on my assistant salary. And I just felt like I needed to kind of press into God and not settle for anything less than God's best. And as I did that, as I looked around, a couple of really interesting things happened. So one was I found an apartment online that was right on the beach. It was down like near the airport, near LAX, like Playa Vista, and it literally had a deck that you could sit on, and in front of you there was nothing but beach, and you could see all the way down to like the Palos Verdes Hills. You could see all the way up to Malibu. You could see the sunset over the ocean. It was incredible. But the thing about it was that the roommates that lived there, they were very different from me, and they're in a very different place spiritually than where I wanted to be. And I just felt like there was this allure of it because it was such an incredible setting, but that ultimately I just felt like it probably wasn't a good fit for me because of the people I'd be living with. And I remember sitting one day and just praying and saying to God, like, is this really the best that you have for me? Because I feel like it won't be a good environment for me spiritually. And as I was thinking about that, I started to think, well, what would be the ideal situation for me? And I thought, well, I'd love to be in some sort of community of people, and I'd love to be living with people that are going to encourage me spiritually. Something like living in a place with missionaries or Christians that are really, the type of people that want to grow spiritually, that are going to encourage me to grow spiritually. And I reached out to a place in Pasadena that was a bit like that, and I never heard back from them. And as I thought about it more, and I kind of looked online, I started looking at places in Hawaii, I started thinking, well, there is a place that would really be perfect, and that is the YWAM ship space in Hawaii, which I'd visited in the past. It's here in Kona. It's right on the ocean. It's a really cool setting. It's like an old hotel. And the people that live there are all people that are involved in missionary work and are the type of people that would, really encourage me to grow spiritually, and I think challenge me. And I kind of just thought about that, and I thought, yeah, that would be kind of perfect. And then I didn't do anything about it because I really was kind of thinking at that point that I would stay in LA. Because I was there and I was settled in there, and I had the job that I had, which, even though it had its ups and downs, was kind of a dream job to have. So anyway, what happened was, about a week or two after thinking about the YWAM ship space, thinking about moving to Hawaii, I was sitting in my studio office at Remote Control Productions, and I got a Facebook message from someone at the YWAM ship's base, someone that I'd never met before. And he said that they were looking for people to join their media and communications team, and would I be interested? And I just read the email, the Facebook message, and I just had to kind of stop for a minute and let it sink in, because it just seemed like there was just more going on in the world than everything that I was caught up with in LA. Like, this thing that I never could have made happen by myself happened. Someone reached out to me, and it opened up an opportunity. It opened up a door for me to move to Hawaii, to live in like the perfect place, to be involved in the sort of work that I love to do. And it just I just never could have expected it. I could never have made it happen. And yet it lined up with everything I felt like God was talking to me about. It lined up with everything that was kind of in my heart as I've been praying, as I've been seeking God. And I just was really blown away. And so I replied and I said, I'm interested. And I had some phone calls with people at the YWAM ship space. Sorry, I'm like sweating like crazy because it's Hawaii and it's hot. And the crazy thing was that this was all happening in the month of April, and my lease ended at the end of April. So there was a lot of big decisions involved, and there wasn't much time to make them. And even though I felt like in so many ways moving to Hawaii, joining YWAM ships, living at the YWAM ship space, like all of that was just so like such a God thing. Like almost wasn't a day that went by where I didn't feel pretty like freaked out, pretty overwhelmed, like pretty nervous about making that decision, because LA can be crazy, LA can be overwhelming, LA can move at the pace of a big city that just sometimes you want to just get out and take a break. But at the same time, there's really cool things that happen in LA. Like I got to work at Hans Zimmer's studio, I got to work on really cool music projects, I got to help out with a recording session that happened at Abbey Road Studios, I got to record at a really cool music studio in North Hollywood, I got to meet like people like Eric Whitacre and David Newman and see like Michael Tilson Thomas conduct the Colburn Orchestra at Disney Hall, like, and go to concerts at Royce Hall and Pasadena, like Ambassador Auditorium, and like that's just one small slice of LA. Like the thing about LA is like it's just so big that there's so much going on, and it's just kind of an exciting place to live, even though it's kind of crazy. It's kind of got both. It's got its ups and downs. And so leaving LA, especially after all the effort that it took to move there, it wasn't something that I necessarily wanted to just do without really being sure that I wanted to do it, because it felt like, honestly, if I leave, I don't know if I'll ever move back. Maybe, but like it took a lot of work to move there. So, I didn't want to just up and leave. And that, there were people that I worked with, people I was friends with there that I was going to definitely miss a lot if I left. And I also just felt like, am I giving up a good thing? Like, I've gotten this job at my dream place at Remote Control Studios. Like, yeah, I'm lower down. I'm doing a lot of work that is tough and late nights and nitpicky and not necessarily as creative as I'd like it to be sometimes, because it's just a lot of the admin work that you're not necessarily writing music, but I was learning a ton about production. I was learning a ton about the industry. I was just there's definitely, and getting to sit in on some really cool recording sessions, meet a lot of really cool people. So I just kind of felt like, is this dumb? Is this foolish? Am I throwing away a good thing? And honestly, it was like an everyday thing, where I'd think, what do I do? And all, with that clock ticking of the end of the month is, every day is one day closer, and I'm going to be like borderline homeless if I don't figure this out. And I was looking at places, I looked at moving onto my friend's boat. I looked at this place up in like a canyon above Malibu that was really cool. I looked at a place in this apartment building in Koreatown called the Langham Apartments, where they filmed part of The Disaster Artist. It's got this rooftop pool. It's really cool. It's really hard to find a place, and because there's almost never vacancies there, but because I knew someone that lived there, there was an apartment that was open that I was thinking of taking. And it was like every day I had to be constantly thinking about all these things and figuring out what I was going to do, and it was just really intense. And a couple things happened that I think really helped me make the decision. There were some small things, like when I was looking at the Langham Apartments, I was standing up on the rooftop and there was this giant poster hanging on a building just across the way that was for a new car, and the name of the car is Kona, Kona, which is where I am now, which is where YWAM Ships is. And I remember just looking at it and just thinking, I think maybe God's telling me to move to Kona. But that was kind of a subtle thing, you know. It really wasn't enough to like make a big decision based on. And then really the biggest thing I think that happened for me was that uh, I was in Santa Monica one day, and I'd reached out to some friends and told them what I was thinking about, and everyone kind of encouraged me to think about moving to Kona. But I was, I have a friend who, his name's Jay, and he is just one of those people that, like, God, he hears so clearly from God that whenever I pray for him, the things that he shares with me, it just blows my mind. Like, it's just God so clearly knows the innermost parts of who I am and is able to minister to me and meet me in just such deeply personal ways that are just mind blowing and so encouraging and so life giving. And I just felt like I should reach out to him and just ask him to pray for me. He was in Korea at the time, and yeah, there's a lot I could say about Jay, but maybe in another video one day. Basically, I just said to Jay, I'm thinking about something. I'm trying to make a decision. I didn't tell him what it was. And I just said, you know, if you have some time, would you mind praying for me? And if you feel like God is saying anything, maybe just, you know, share that with me. So about a week later, he popped up on Facebook and said, okay, I'm going to pray for you now. And he started sharing some things with me that he felt like God was saying, and they were very personal, very gracious, very encouraging, like things that God would say to him, to him, that he shared with me, that I think maybe didn't even make sense to him, but they made so much sense to me, and they really met me where I was. But nothing was about LA or Kona, and I really was sitting there saying, you know, God, I would really love it if you would just speak to me about whether to stay in LA or to move to Hawaii. And right after I was just thinking that, Jay said on the Facebook chat that he felt like God was speaking a word to him, and that word was Kona. And I just sat in my little studio area on Facebook chat there and just thought, wow, like this is exactly what I needed to hear right now. Like, that is unbelievable. And that really, I think, gave me the confidence to really just give the last push that I needed to pack up my stuff, to move out of my apartment, to ship stuff to Hawaii, and you know, to give my notice at work, and to kind of take a step into the next thing, which was moving here and joining YWAM Ships. And honestly, it's been really incredible. Like, it's really, I feel like it's just been a really incredible experience ever since. And I feel like it's refocused me on the more eternal things in life. You know, working in the entertainment industry, it can have some pretty amazing moments, but I feel like it can also be kind of a mad scramble to kind of keep up in a world that I feel like at times can be distracted from what the most important things are that are going on in the world, which are that God is at work to restore creation, to destroy death, to restore all things. And if none of that makes sense, then maybe I'll make some videos about that in the future, because it's really pretty incredible. It's pretty awesome, to say the least. And I feel like coming out here to Hawaii, being around YWAM again, I feel like it's been very good for me, and it's been really good to be in Hawaii, and I'm really excited about moving on to the ship space, and just really kind of blown away that it's even possible, and that through this whole process, just all the different ways that God has met me and opened up doors for me to step through, that I feel like have just brought a lot of blessing into my life. So yeah, that's my LA to Hawaii story.